Testing, 1, 2, 3. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the annual luncheon for CASA of Marion County. All right, round of applause. Who's excited to be here today? I think we can do better than that. Who's ready to be here today? Yes. All right. It's my pleasure to introduce the President of the Board of Directors for CASA Marion County, Dr. Ray Wheeler.
Good morning. Welcome to the annual luncheon of CASA of Marion County. CASA stands for Court Appointed Special Advocates. If you're new with us, our amazing staff recruit, train, and supervise CASA volunteers, who in turn advocate for the rights, the health, the education, and the safety of abused and neglected children in foster care. Today, we'll share a glimpse of what it takes to be a CASA. Our luncheon agenda on the screen is there for you to follow. You're welcome to scan the QR code and follow the agenda on your own device. Our program is being video recorded by Capital Community Media. CC Media provides local content, education, and a platform for people who want to hear and be heard by their community. CASA hired CC Media to create our volunteer training videos, and you will get a sneak peek of some of those videos today. These videos are made possible thanks to a grant from Pioneer Trust Bank's Salem Foundation. Indeed. Now I'm going to run through a list of people that I'm going to have stand and be recognized. Please hold your applause until I cue you to applaud. So we'll start first with our amazing CASA staff. Would you please stand? The staff of CASA here in Marion County. Oh, they are standing around the room. Great. CASA volunteers. Would you please stand? CASA volunteers. And CASA board members who are present, would you please stand? And also, any elected officials who are here with us today supporting CASA, would you please stand and be recognized as well? Let's give a round of applause to all of these. Please join me in a round of really good applause for all of our sponsors who are listed here on the screen. Thank you so much. I'd like to invite three individuals to join me on the stage: Randy Frankie, Jackie Frankie, and Sam Skillard. Would you please come and join me? They have devoted countless hours to CASA. Let's go ahead and give them a round of applause as they come. Sam, Jackie.
Hi, Ray.
Sam joined the CASA Board of Directors in 2016 and concluded his service this year. In fact, it was the meeting they voted me in.
It was one of the conditions of him saying yes.
I thought it was something I said. Over the many years of faithful service, Sam has shared his insights as a nonprofit leader with CASA. He served as board treasurer, chair of CASA's finance committee. He's helped the program expand from 6 to 8 full-time staff. Let's give Sam a rousing applause.
Thank you, Ray,
Sam.
very much, very much.
Next, I want to recognize Randy and his wife, Jackie Frankie. Randy served on the board of directors from 2019 until 2025. A true servant leader. He helped CASA weather the changes of COVID.
There's no amount of recognition that can help with that. I mean, that's just
Awesome. He served as board president and on CASA's executive committee. Jackie deserves recognition in her own right. Thanks to the countless hours she invested in CASA, she helped recruit donors and sponsors to support the financial health of the organization. Let's give a round of applause for Randy and Jackie together. You may be seated. Thank you. It's time to invite our next speaker to the stage, the Honorable Lindsay Partridge. Judge Partridge has been a Marion County Circuit Court judge since 2012. Judge Partridge is a double Bearcat, having received his bachelor's degree and his law degree from Willamette University. Please join me in welcoming Judge Partridge.
All right, good afternoon. My job here today is to get you fired up for our keynote speaker. And I'm glad I have the opportunity to do this because, first of all, I owe him a letter, I owe him an apology, and so I want to make it publicly. For years, I've always introduced and referred to him as Judge Perez. But I noticed more recently I'm mispronouncing it. And so I have a judicial assistant who is bilingual. She's been working with me for a couple of weeks to get it right. And so she tells me that the way to really pronounce it is to think of a city in France and say Judge Perez. Does that work? Okay, all right. All right, I'm a work in progress. But I am thrilled and honored to introduce Judge Perez today, in particular for CASA lunch. And when I think about kids that are served and families that are served by CASA, I'm thinking about people that really, if life is a race, you're talking about people that are starting a couple steps behind than where most of us started in life. Now, some people have a way advanced head start, but people that need a hand up to get somewhere. Judge Perez has been the juvenile court judge since 2019 or 18? 20. Well, he was there when the pandemic started. I know, because they sent everybody that was 65 years or older home, which to my amazement, it was him, and the guy who had had double bypass surgery they sent out to juveniles, which made no sense to me. But anyway, he's been out there for many years, and he has a unique personal story in that born in Texas, but spent the first 7 years of his life in Mexico. Came to the United States, particularly the Eastern Oregon area, with his family who was migrant laborers. And he was able to graduate from, Nissa High School? Nissa High School. He championship wrestler. And I always think about that because I think sometimes when I'm in court and I'm getting irritated by attorneys how much I'd like to put them in a headlock. Actually do it, and so that would be amazing. But I've always been impressed, I don't know if it's background or whatever, but Judge Perez has two qualities, particularly for a juvenile court judge, that are critical. And the first is that he is a man of integrity. I don't think if he tells you something, gives you his word on something, then he's going to follow through with that, which is important. But more important, he's a person of compassion, and which, believe it or not, is somewhat of a worthwhile trait for a judge now and then. But in juvenile court in particular, having compassion to deal with the children and families that are in crisis, he is well suited to be able to do that. So I'm pleased to introduce him, bring him up here, and hear words of wisdom that he's going to share with us. Please come forward, my friend and colleague, Judge Perez.
He was close. It's Perez. And funny story, not so funny. I passed the Oregon bar and then I took the Idaho State bar. And back then, because I'm pretty old, you had to call the bar and tell them your name and they'd tell you if you passed. So I told them, my name is Manuel Perez. They're like, pass? And he's like, no, sir, you were not in the list of successful applicants. Well, I think it was because they thought I said Pettis, Pettis, because then when I looked at the list, my name was there. So it's the correct pronunciation has gotten me in trouble sometimes. But I want to thank you all for inviting me here, and thank you, Judge Partridge, for the very, very kind words, and Vanessa for inviting me out today, and especially for the CASA for the work that you all do, and on behalf of the children that come in front of me all the time. Judge Partridge mentioned that I was raised in Mexico. Am I?
I'll take these. You just put that closer.
Great, thank you. And the benefit of that was, one, my first language is Spanish, and secondly, every position of power was held by a Mexican. Imagine that. It was in Mexico. So in my mind, there was no limits. When I started coming to the United States and working in the fields, no position of authority was held by Mexicans. And so there was no limits for me. And that's the way I like to think about for the youth that come in front of me. There are no limits. I had a lot of help getting to where I was from. I remember in the 4th grade, a wrestling coach coming up to me and I was just a kid walking down the hall. He says, "How are you doing, champ?" I had never wrestled a day in my life. He didn't know my abilities, but he put in me the belief that if I worked hard enough and if I had the right support, I could be a champ. And that's what I want to put into each one of the children that appear in front of me. Because I believe in our children. I believe that every single child that appears in front of me, if given the opportunity, the support, and the encouragement, can reach their full potential. Sometimes, and this is really emotional for me, because I have children that come in with no support at home, no support. They have seen nothing but failure. But it's important for me that they know when they come to my court, it's a different world, that we will support them if they put the effort out. My philosophy in juvenile court, and I'm kind of nervous. I know I have 10 minutes, and I don't know if I'm going to, maybe less than 10 minutes. Okay. Is that everybody that comes to juvenile court should be welcome and heard, and that's what we try to do. The other thing that I like about being in juvenile court is that you get to develop a relationship with people. You get to talk to people over extended periods of time during their life, and you get to know them, you get to help them, you get to provide them that support that you know that they need. This is especially true in fostering attachment court and also in something called STAR court, and a recent program that we have in the Marion County Juvenile Court, which is ICWA court. And there are only 2 ICWA courts in the state of Oregon, and now it's fully operational. We're celebrating our 1-year anniversary of that. To be able to make good decisions, the judge has to have good information. And the one person that I rely upon the most, and I'm sorry, defense attorneys that are here, and I'm sorry, DHS, if you're here, the most important voice in my mind is that of the CASA. CASA. CASAs are unpaid volunteers. There are people that have lived a full life already, and they spend countless hours going to visit children. They attend school meetings. They go to medical appointments. They go all over the place for the children. One of the things that they've done recently is that they've been sending me pictures of the children. I don't get to see children. I see numbers, I see names, I see letters. Seeing the children humanizes them for me so I can know what I'm talking about. This is a real person that we're talking about. as I have said before to them, you are my eyes and my ears and a voice for the children. And I appreciate you so much. Let's be more assertive. Okay? Don't be intimidated by the other people that are there. Tell me what you want. Tell me what you think. And I will probably go along with you. Because you're the one that truly has the best interest of the children in your mind. How am I doing? Good. Fine. So, I was talking to somebody else here and agreed with him that the CASA is the most constant person in this child's life, usually for a long, long time. Please continue to do your job. Thank you for doing your job. And if there's anything that the court can do to help you, please let us know, because we're a team. Thank you very much, folks.
Hi, my name is Lynn.
My name is Aaron.
My name is Makira.
My name is Gail.
And I'm Craig.
I'm Joanne.
And I'm Jim, and we're CASA volunteers.
My experience so far as a CASA has been primarily really good. It is, however, a roller coaster because things come up, placements change, kids switch schools, there are disappointments, then there are great successes, but overall, it's something I love doing and want to continue doing.
We're this community representative, this non-professional paid person.
Non-paid.
So it's like we come in neutral and really show that we care, the community cares.
We want the best for the child.
Yeah, we want the best for the child.
One of my favorite memories is our very first case. When I first met Z, she was kind of a wild child. She was a rebellious teenager, and she had been tracked down for being trafficked as a teenage girl, and she really didn't want to have anything to do with me. As time went on, we really convinced her to stay in the ILP program and to do things, and it worked out for her. It was a really beautiful thing to have this relationship build over the years through just compassion. It's so rewarding. Wouldn't trade it for the world. Not at all.
In my time as a CASA, I think the most valuable lesson I've learned is that any voice can make a difference. And it has been really encouraging in a lot of ways to see that I'm able to build a relationship with this child. I'm able to be a trusted adult. I'm able to be a consistent presence. And that seems like a kind of small thing when you look at the big picture of what this child is experiencing. But realizing that that presence makes a difference is very motivating.
The most valuable lesson I learned was definitely compassion. I had a decent amount of distrust for DHS and the whole system, but going in to CASA and seeing how the DHS caseworker was there for the parents, trying to help them with resources and supports to be able to get to the point where they could get their life back together and they could raise their children successfully. Seeing judges who were extraordinarily compassionate. I learned a ton of compassion for everyone involved. That was really eye-opening for me.
If someone is kind of on the fence about whether or not being a CASA is right for them, I would say just go for it, because there's only one way to know if this is a good fit for you. And there's not really going to be a downside to investing in a child's life. And so you're either going to try it out and fall in love with it and continue impacting lives, or you're going to do it once and impact one life. Either way, that's going to be a positive outcome.
afternoon. I'm Braylon. I am one of the 3 of our advocate coordinators who work with the volunteers, just like the one you watched. Each month, we have the joy of celebrating one of our volunteers for their outstanding service and dedication for their kids. And at the end of the year, we get the exceptional opportunity to nominate one of them for Volunteer of the Year. This year, that honor goes to someone I've had the privilege of working with for 2 years, Sheila Nilsby. When I joined CASA in June of 2023, I was handed a caseload of 7 newly sworn volunteers. None had written a report, attended a hearing, or even met the children they're advocating for. Honestly, I hadn't either. I was brand new. One of those volunteers was Sheila. Through Sheila, I learned what it truly means to be a CASA. She poured 170 hours into understanding her CASA children, their family, their medical needs, their academic hurdles, and everything in between. She showed unwavering empathy for a family in crisis and a mother battling. This was a great case. A mother battling mental illness, while all fiercely advocating for the boys with love and commitment. The feedback I received about Sheila was consistent and glowing, professional, compassionate, deeply dedicated. She built strong relationships with caseworkers, attorneys, community partners, and resource parents, proving that collaboration leads to lasting impacts. Even though I rarely meet our CASA kids myself, through Sheila's advocacy, I saw them. I saw their stories, their struggles, their strength. Sheila reminds us why this work matters. Her efforts remind us that when we come together, children don't just survive, they thrive. It is my absolute honor to recognize Sheila Nilsby as our 2025 Volunteer of the Year.
Boy, if my CASA kids saw that cute little stuffed animal, they'd be fighting over it. Thank you so much. And thank you, Braylon, for your kind words. Take a moment here. The big challenge in speaking in a room like this is not what to say or return to speech. For me, it's how the bifocals and the fonts work. I decide between my 14-point or my 16-point and see how I do here. Well, it's a great honor to be named as the CASA Volunteer of the Year, and I deeply appreciate it. When we're recognized and honored this way, it's likely that we didn't achieve it all on our own. Often it's because people have imparted their wisdom and their guidance and their encouragement and have helped us along the way. This certainly has been the case for me. I've been helped by a great number of people, and I'm a better CASA for it. First and foremost, I've been helped greatly by the CASA staff, all of them, particularly my supervisor, Braylon, who you just met, who is quick to lend support whenever it's needed, and to Dennis, who oversees our training and puts together hours upon hours of continuing education opportunities for us each year. Although our CASA training is very robust, it can't possibly address every unique situation that we may encounter on a given case. And so we learn from others who are on mission with us as we advocate for the best interest of the children. Since becoming a CASA, I've learned so much from the attorneys I've worked with, from Ellen Yeoman, Tara Sinks, Del Wilhelm, Elizabeth Muse, Kathy Street, and Carrie Wineland. They have generously taken time to explain things that I may not have understood or to encourage me in my work as a CASA. And I've learned by watching Judge Perez and Judge Underwood as they dispense justice and compassion from the bench in equal dose. In addition, I've had the privilege of working and interacting with so many community partners and have learned so much from them as well. And last but certainly not least are the amazing DHS workers that I've been partnered with. Natalie Jasinski, Monica Michelle, and Stephanie Benefiel. Stephanie and I have spent the last 2 years on a case together with a lot of ups and downs, and it will actually be concluding next month with a very sweet outcome of 2 little boys being adopted into their forever home. Stephanie, I simply can't overstate the impact that you've had on my work as a CASA. You've helped me navigate DHS land and to understand the task at hand from the perspective of a caseworker. I've learned so much from observing you and talking through the bumps that our case has experienced along the way. We don't always hold the same opinion of the case issues because our roles are different, but I am so glad that early on we committed to have a strong and unified team for those 2 very special little boys that we've been helping and advocating for. I know that I speak for every person in this room who works or volunteers in Marion County's juvenile system when I say that we would love nothing more than to be out of a job or out of a volunteer opportunity tomorrow. But that's not the world that we live in. We aren't here, the world that we live in has got Marion County full of hurting and broken families, and we aren't here because everything is going great for these kids and their families. We're here on this collective mission of advocacy because something has gone very wrong. There is change going on in their lives, and these kids are marked by feelings of fear and confusion, insecurity, and sadly, sometimes trauma. Having a CASA assigned to them in their court case gives these young people a dedicated person whose sole focus is to advocate for their best interests before the court. We commit to the case for as long as it takes. Sometimes that means a couple of months, and sometimes that means a year or 2. Whether a short time or a long time, we come alongside of them and bring an added sense of stability and support in their ever-changing world. Upon learning that I'm a CASA, friends and family and acquaintances will often say to me, "Sheila, I could never do what you do. It must be so sad and so hard." But you know what? Sad and hard doesn't mean that it's not also fulfilling and worthy. Being a CASA is unlike anything you'll ever do, and your feelings will likely run the gamut. Sadness for what these kids are going through, frustration and disappointment when parents aren't doing what they need to do or are unable to do what they need to do. Feelings of hope and gladness when you see little steps of progress lead to bigger and more significant steps of progress. Relief and joy when all of the pieces come together and there's a family that's been reunited. Feelings of pride and excitement when the kids in your case learn to walk or to talk or to read or to ride a bike or to make new friends or get accepted into college. So many different feelings, all arising from unique situations that we find in each case. So yes, it can be hard, but in my view, in my opinion, the conviction of why this work is important far outweighs the sadness that may come from time to time. Maybe some of you sitting here today have thought of becoming a CASA. I hope so because we need you. Ideally, we need about another 100 CASAs to be at full complement. Currently in Marion County, there are about 300 kids in foster care, and roughly 200 of those kids don't have a CASA, excuse me. This leaves about 135 open cases without CASAs assigned, and that's 135 more than we would like to see. There's an adage that says, know your why, and then find your what to connect that to. And that's certainly a proven strategy for some. But I want to encourage you that an equally effective strategy is to find your what, and you will discover your why. I would like to suggest that for some in this room, CASA could be your what. Sometimes we can do, and so maybe you would be willing to explore what it looks like to be a CASA. And sometimes we can give. And so maybe you would consider giving your time or your finances or your other resources to support this very important work. Today, I hope that you will consider my invitation and join CASA's work in some way, and that like me, you too will discover the joy and the satisfaction of making a difference in the life of the children in foster care. Thank you.
All right, folks, my turn. My name is Vanessa Nordyke, and I'm the Executive Director of CASA Marion County. And it's time for us to have a little bit of a chat. So let me just navigate the stage here. I hope everyone enjoyed their lunch so far. Oh, hi. Oh, hello. So anyway, our work is life-changing for these kids. And as you can see from incredible people like Braylon and Sheila, we do not shy away from the hard truths of our work. And so with me today, I'm going to invite a local pediatrician on stage because, as you may recall from last year's luncheon, we focused on the young adults that we serve. You met Deanna and Gloria and Precious, all young women who are now enrolled in college. But that is at one end of the spectrum that we serve. But what about our newborns, our toddlers? We represent them too. And as you can imagine, the needs for this very special, very fragile population is very different indeed. And they face challenges that before I came to CASA, I had never possibly imagined. And in order for us to lean into the work, we must understand the science of some of the most challenging things that we face. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Farah Etzel to the stage. Hello, doctor. One moment while I check your mic. Test.
Got it.
Awesome. All right. So, Dr. Etzel, let's have a little conversation. Would you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
I went to Sprague High School and then Oregon State. Go Beavs. And then I moved to Houston to attend graduate school and at University of Texas, Houston Graduate School of Biomedical Sciences, and then went on to attend medical school in Houston. And then returned to do my residency at Oregon Health and Sciences University. And then I have been a pediatrician in our community since 2002.
Excellent. So in that time, doctor, have you had any opportunities to work with substance-exposed infants as patients?
Hundreds.
Hundreds, indeed. Now, when we talk about substance exposure, for the biological mothers, are we talking about prescribed medications from their doctor or something a little different?
There's two categories. There are plenty of moms in our community who are on medication-assisted treatment for their opioid or other substance addiction. And so they are prescribed either methadone or Suboxone or buprenorphine by a physician to manage their opioid use disorder. And one caveat I want to say is if a woman becomes pregnant and she is on one of these medications, it is very vitally important that they do not try to wean themselves off that medication while they're pregnant. That is dangerous for both themselves and for the newborn baby. So there's that caveat. And then we also have the infants that are born to moms who are using fentanyl, street fentanyl, methamphetamines, cocaine, marijuana, you name it.
Exactly. So how do we know if a child has been substance exposed when they're born?
A lot of times we have some suspicion whether or not, like if a mom has not had good prenatal care or there's a history of multiple ER visits for methamphetamine use. And unfortunately, a lot of our moms who are actively using illicit substances come in and they're often under the influence at the time of their delivery. And so it becomes obvious that this baby is undergoing withdrawal.
I see. And is it true that in the city of Salem, where your practice is based, are there some mothers who are coming and delivering their babies with little to no prenatal care?
Definitely. And unfortunately, we, especially if a woman has had a pregnancy in the past where their child has been removed from their care because of ongoing drug use, they will sometimes jump counties thinking that the folks in one county aren't going to tell the folks in another county what's going on. Also jumping over from Vancouver and coming up from California.
Understood. So let's talk a little bit about our next slide. Let's talk about what are some of the immediate effects that you see, the short-term effects of substance exposure in infants. We have some on screen. Can you walk us through some of the side effects that you see when treating newborns?
So for an opioid affected infant, such as a mom who's taking illicit street fentanyl, oxycodone, or even prescribed methadone, Suboxone, those babies often are born small, not only just in length, and they also don't have an appropriate amount of fat on their bodies. They're fussy. They cry, they're tense, they're stiff. You can take your finger and they can grab onto your finger and you can lift their whole body up just with their hands because they're so stiff. They yawn, they sneeze, they have diarrhea, they're unable to coordinate a latch and a suck on a pacifier or a bottle, and they have trouble eating.
Understood. And so it sounds to me that when we're working with a child who may be born with substances in their body, you're going to need parents who are extremely engaged, more engaged with that child to ensure that their needs is met. Is that a fair statement?
Correct. A baby who is born exposed to opioids is usually hospitalized for 1 to 4 weeks as they go through withdrawal. And some of these babies actually need to be placed on morphine themselves to help gradually manage their withdrawal symptoms. They often have to have a feeding tube in place, and we actually have what we call baby holders or baby cuddlers that come to the hospital that are volunteers just to hold and soothe the babies because they cannot soothe themselves.
Understood. And I know you and I talked about, there's an extensive amount of research into the impact of substance exposure on infants. Is there any research indicating that drug exposure can impact the child's ability to learn?
Definitely. One of the hardest parts is when a baby has gone through withdrawal and they're actually able to leave the hospital. We often hear, but they're going to be okay, right? It's like, well, we've made it through the physical withdrawal, but the long-term harm to sleep regulation, temper regulation, behavior challenges, mental health, all of those things, and learning disabilities, those are all to come. Mm-hmm. So it's very important that those children are well established with a pediatrician or a family practice doctor. Mm-hmm. They need ongoing assessments. This is the American Academy of Pediatrics periodicity schedule. And so, for example, in the first 1 year of life, a child will have at least 8 scheduled doctor's appointments where they will be ongoing, not only physical exam and in what we call anticipatory guidance or things for parents to watch out for, but also developmental screening.
Absolutely. And folks, there will be a quiz about this. We put this slide up. Dr. Etzel shared this slide with me, not to expect you to read it word for word, but to give you that 10,000 foot view of just how complicated the delivery of care and just how on top of things our parents have to be when they're born with any variety of special needs. Is that fair to say?
Yes. And, unfortunately, a lot of kiddos are multi-substance exposed. There's nicotine, there's marijuana, there's commonly fentanyl is laced with methamphetamine in our community. And it is an ongoing assessment. The levels of development or the skills that a preschooler needs to do are different than a first grader, different than a fifth grader, different than a teenager. And we know that brains develop until you're 26 years old, and a lot of executive functioning and then you put that child in a home for those who are lucky enough to be reunited with their family of origin, those parents often don't have the resilience and the skills and the coping skills to deal with a toddler who, when they start a tantrum at 7 in the morning, and this is what we see often with methamphetamine affected kids, that tantrum's still going strong at 4. They really struggle with self-regulation. And you can imagine a parent who's already struggling with their own mental health or behavior issues. Their coping skills are low, and that places that child at additional risk of harm.
Thank you, doctor. Let's go to the next slide. So let's talk a little bit about the long-term effects. So at CASA Marion County, sometimes we enter the case when the child is a newborn, but oftentimes we're not entering that case. We're not coming on the scene. We don't have Judge Perez or Judge Partridge or others assigning us until years later. And this is what really fascinated me, is that even if the exposure ends after the child is born, there can be long-term effects years later. Can you talk a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, they have learning disabilities, and learning disabilities are very difficult to diagnose anyone in the education system. It takes school psychologists ongoing evaluations, and frankly, we don't have enough school psychologists. We probably could use one for every classroom. And learning disabilities, then you have an evaluation that needs to go back to the medical arena for them to make an official diagnosis, then for them to get signed up for appropriate services. But all of these things snowball, and you can imagine if you are a peer in a classroom and you have a kiddo that just gets so irritated and they get impulsive and they pull the hair and they yell things at the teacher, you don't want to be that kiddo's friend. And then they don't have a friend, and then they're anxious and depressed, and everything just snowballs. And so ongoing support, both for that child and their caretakers, are so important.
All right, wonderful. So what I'm hearing, doctor, is it really, ideally you would have Supermom taking care of
24/7.
Yeah.
For 70 years.
Okay, right. So, well, I really appreciate that. Kids thrive on routine. They thrive on predictability, and knowing how the parent is going to respond to certain behaviors is really beneficial. This is one of the reasons why we see value in our program, because we want our CASAs to meet with you as the pediatrician, to meet with all the therapists, the occupational therapists, the school psychologists, and so on. It seems like there needs to be a lot of wraparound support for medically fragile children. Is that fair?
Definitely. And unfortunately, we still have a lot of silos. You have the medical community, you have the educational community, you have the mental health community, the legal community, and having that communication between all four is difficult. There's a lot of restrictions. There's HIPAA. There's all sorts of things in the legalese world that I don't know. And the CASA is that one person who is privy to all of that information.
That's exactly right. Well, I think that is a perfect segue to our next speaker. Please give Dr. Etzel a round of applause. All right, folks, we are now going to welcome Jackie Scott, one of our advocate coordinators, who will be introducing our next speaker.
Hi, everyone. Before I get started and get ahead of myself, I do have a gift that I would like to bestow to the adoptive mom of our success story today, as we have a special guest in the room. So give me just a moment while I do that, and I'll be right back. Okay, where was I? Oh, so, whether you know me well or we're just meeting, Hello, my name is Jackie Scott, and I'm an advocate coordinator proudly served at CASA of Marion County for nearly 4 years now. Helping others has always been in my DNA, and working with children and youth in foster care is the most meaningful way I've found to live that out. CASA isn't just a job, it's a mission I was meant to be part of. This work is deeply personal to me. As someone who experienced foster care firsthand as a teen, I'll most remember the meaningful way that I found comfort in that one person and the impact that they had on my life then and now. Now I get to be a part of those voices lifting up the others, and it's the greatest honor I could ask for. But enough about me, let me get to the really good part. It is my absolute privilege to introduce someone who embodies the very heart of CASA of Marion County, Denise Svensson. For nearly 6 years, Denise has been a tireless advocate for abused and neglected children and youth in substitute care. Her work is not just thorough, it's transformative. Every visit she makes, every court report she writes, every voice she lifts is done with unwavering dedication, compassion, and integrity. Denise came to CASA with a deep desire to make a difference, and she has done just that over and over and over again. Sorry. Since I stepped into the role of her advocate coordinator in early 2023, I've had the joy of witnessing firsthand what an exceptional human Denise is. She's not just a volunteer, she's a blessing to our program and a true unsung hero right here in our community. Her presence is steady, her advocacy is fierce, and her heart is enormous. Today, she joins us at this luncheon to share the story of a young girl named Callie, a remarkable child whose journey reminds us of why we do this work. Denise went above and beyond, pouring 248 documented hours into Callie's case alone. Thank you, Denise. So please join me in celebrating Denise, an exceptional CASA volunteer, an advocate, a light, and a true champion for children as she shares this extraordinary story of tragedy and triumph that is certain to tug at your heartstrings. Let's give a big round of applause and welcome our special guest and treasured ally to the stage, Denise.
Good afternoon. It's a privilege to be here and to see so many faces that are familiar. A lot closer. Okay. Is that better? Okay. I remember when my advocate coordinator told me she had a case that needed a CASA because the previous CASA had quit the program. Callie was 1.5 years when I came into their lives.
You're doing great.
Okay.
As close as possible. As close as possible.
I can talk really loud.
Yes, you're doing great.
Can you put the next slide on, please? Callie was put into resource care when she was 9 days old. She was born with many medical needs, and there was failure to thrive and neglect on the mother's part. That's a hard thing to do, but it was the best for Callie. And I'm going to list her medical diagnoses, and forgive me, Angela, if I've left anything out. Callie is legally blind. She's had 3 surgeries. She sees tunnel vision and maybe shadows. She has moderate hearing loss. She has cerebral palsy, and she was diagnosed with autism. She had 1 surgery to insert a G-tube because she didn't know how to swallow or chew. She's just now learning to chew at 4.5 years old. She has something called corpus callosum, and I'm not sure how many times Angela's tried to tell me what that means, but basically it's the nerve fibers that are in the middle of the brain that cause the right and the left side to communicate with each other are missing. So it takes her a lot longer to process information. She was born with a club foot that was corrected with braces, so she didn't have to have surgery. She was born with an inverted knee that basically her leg was facing this way and had casts to improve that so she wouldn't have to have surgery. And she had 2 surgeries for hip dysplasia. And these were all before she was 4 years old. Next photo, please. As Callie's CASA, I would have monthly visits with the family. I immediately fell in love with Mom. She was just like my daughter. There was a lot of discovery to read, as you can imagine, at 1.5 years with all the medical issues that she had. Some of that was really difficult to read, other was joyful. There were court appearances and court reports to do. I learned a lot about the justice system. Medical providers, therapists, Willamette Early Education were all people that I talked to and kept tabs on how Callie was doing. I would observe Mom in visits at DHS, watch her interact with Callie. Mom had her own developmental delays, and she was unable to recognize the seriousness of the issues that Callie had and to give her the care that she needs and realize that something was really, really wrong and she needed 24/7 round-the-clock care. She still needs that too. The mother refused to meet with me, and the mother also appealed at least 3 times that I'm aware of court decisions. In August of 2023, there was a 3-day termination of parental rights trial. And she lost her parental rights at that trial. She appealed that. It was another 1.5 years before the adoption was final. I had to speak at that hearing, and it was one of the hardest things I've done. Number one, standing up in a courtroom, which I'd never done before, but also reading a statement that I had prepared with a judge, with attorneys, with DHS, and the mother looking at me. And I truly believed, and I stated that I did not think Callie would survive if she stayed with her mom. At the very least, she would not get the care she needed. It was just too much. And unfortunately for the family, but fortunately for Callie, the adoption became final 1 year and 9 months after that trial. Callie's going to be 5 years next month, and I'm not sure if you all saw her, but she's with us today, and she's beautiful and happy and taken care of and gets all the therapy and all the love that she needs. Next photos. Oh yeah, after this. This was the adoption ceremony, May 8th of this year. And the next slide also was the adoption. This is part of the family, not all of them. My husband was a photographer, and we were able to take part in that gotcha ceremony, as Angela calls it. I learned a lot of patience being Callie's CASA. The court system moves very slowly. There were a lot of delays. The appeals took a long time. But everyone involved wanted to make sure this was the right thing, and it totally is. Being a CASA has been so meaningful for me, and not all my cases have turned out this way, but this one has been the most important in how it did turn out. And I have a continued relationship with the family. It did not stop when the adoption was finalized. Fortunately, they still let me come and visit. And the last photo. This was taken last week, and Callie she's gorgeous, she's happy, she's loved, she's well taken care of. And I also want you to notice the little kitten on my lap. Part of the joy of going to their house is there's always a kitten, and they just love me, and I love cats, so that's a highlight. I also want to thank Angela, Callie's mom, and her whole family for all that they have done for this little girl that wouldn't have had a chance at living in the life she's going to have and that she has having without adoptive parents that are willing to take on a child with these enormous needs. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for listening, and that's it.
Today you met some of the local heroes. And now I'm asking you to also be a hero in a foster child's story. Your contribution today is an investment in a child's future, but really it's an investment also in our future together. You can see on the slide, $166 is just 1 month of advocacy for a child like the ones you heard about today. $2,000 ensures an entire year of care, attention, and compassion. That includes a year of going to court on the child's behalf, meeting with the child each month, reviewing countless health records and school records for the child, and more. Your support is needed now more than ever. Help us recover the $85,000 hit we took in the cancellation of federal funding. As a board member, that's like somebody else hitting your thumb with a hammer. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for caring. Together, we can ensure every foster child knows that they are valuable, they are seen, and they are cared for. Last but not least, keep this date in mind. Saturday, March 14th, 2026, we'll be right back here for our springtime gala. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.